Haiti, a land of music, faith, and unshakable spirit. A place where the mountain meets the sea and where freedom was once born in fire. But behind the rhythm and color lies a painful truth that the first black nation to win its independence has lived for centuries under the shadow of poverty. How did a country that once carried the name, the Pearl of the Antilles, become one of the poorest nations in the world? This is the story of how Haiti's freedom came with a price paid in blood, in gold, and in silence. Before the poverty, there was an unimaginable wealth. In the 1700s, Haiti, then called Saint Domingo, was the jewel of the French Empire. Its plantations produced more sugar and coffee than anywhere else on earth. Ships left its ports loaded with riches, enough to power France's entire economy. But this wealth came at a terrible cost. Nearly 500,000 enslaved Africans worked day and night in brutal conditions. They were beaten, branded, and overworked until death. Haiti was a paradise for the rich and hell for the enslaved. By 1789, this small island generated more wealth for France than all 13 American colonies had for Britain. But the people whose hands built that fortune were never meant to share in it. And then, something happened. The enslaved decided to fight back. In August 1791, flames lit the night sky, plantations burned, chains broke. Enslaved people of Saint Domingo rose up against their masters. Their cry was clear: liberty or death. Under the leadership of men like Toussaint Louverture and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, they fought not just for themselves, but for the idea that freedom belongs to everyone. The revolution lasted over a decade. France, Spain, and Britain, three world powers, all sent armies to crush the movement, but they failed. In 1804, Haiti declared its independence. It became the world's first black republic and the second free nation in Americas after the United States. The victory was historic. The impossible had happened, but freedom, it seemed, was the only beginning of a new struggle. France could not accept defeat. In 1825, just 21 years after independence, French warships appeared off Haiti's coast. They demanded that Haiti pay 150 million francs in compensations for the loss of plantations, property, and even the enslaved peoples themselves. It was ransom, a price for peace. And under the threat of invasion, Haiti agreed. To make the payments, Haiti borrowed from French banks, plunging the nations into debts before it could even stand. That independence debt, as it was called, would take more than a century to pay. The last installment wasn't completed until 1947. Imagine that for over 120 years, the people of Haiti paid their former oppressors for their own freedom. Money that could have built schools, roads, hospitals, was instead sent overseas. Freedom had to come, but it had come chained to debt. Even as Haiti struggled to pay its debt, the world turned its back. Slave owning in America refused to recognize Haiti's independence until 1862. European powers closed their ports and shunned trades. Haiti was punished for daring to be free. Cut off from global markets, the new nation had no allies, no resources, and no way to rebuild. The soil, exhausted from many years of plantation farming, could no longer produce enough to feed its people, and the treasury, drained by France, had nothing left. Yet all this, the Haitian people endured. They built schools, churches, and communities. They sang songs of hope and passed on stories of freedom. They survived even when the world refused to see them. In 1915, political unrest opened the door to a new kind of foreign control. The United States invaded Haiti, claiming to restore order. For 19 years, American forces occupied the nation. They controlled its banks, custom, and constitution. The occupation modernized some infrastructure but stripped Haiti of its independence once again. When Americans left in 1934, Haiti entered a new era, one marked by dictatorship and fear. In 1957, François Papa de Chevalier seized power. He ruled with iron fists and secret police, known as the Tonton Mocots. For nearly 3 decades, Chevalier family ruled through terror and corruption. They stole $1 billion, while thousands of Haitians disappeared or fled into exile. The dream of freedom seemed once again to be slipping away. As if history hadn't done enough, Haiti faced another kind of enemy, nature itself. Hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes struck again and again, each time leaving behind devastation. In January 2010, a massive earthquake hit near Port-au-Prince. Over 200,000 people were killed in seconds. 1 million were left homeless. The world rushed to help. Billions of dollars in aid were promised. But corruption, politics, and poor coordination left much of that aid lost or misused. Even today, many survivors still live in makeshift shelters. And yet, every morning, life goes on. Markets open. Children go to school. People rebuild with bare hands and fierce hope. Through every trial, one thing remains unbroken: the spirit of the Haitian people. From the artists of Port-au-Prince to the farmers in mountain villages, Haitians create beauty out of hardship. They sing, they dance, they pray, they rebuild. Their resilience is a language the world must learn to hear. Haiti is more than its poverty. Its courage, its creativity, it's the heartbeat of freedom itself. Haiti's poverty was not born from failure. It was imposed through slavery, debt, and exploitation. But the Haitian people remain unbroken, living proof that freedom, even when costly, is worth fighting for. From the pain of the past to the promise of tomorrow, Haiti still stands, proud, defiant, and free. Today, Haiti still stands at crossroads. The streets of Port-au-Prince pulse with life. But behind the laughter and color, many still struggle to survive. Political instability, corruption, and foreign interference continue to shape the nation's fate. Elections are delayed, governments fall, and gangs rule the parts of the capital. But beyond the headlines, there is another Haiti, one that rarely makes the news. It's in the young entrepreneurs turning recycled metals into art. It's in the farmers reclaiming the land their ancestors once worked. It's in the teachers who still show up to classroom with broken roofs and endless hope. Because for every challenge Haiti faces, there's someone somewhere fighting to change the story. New generations are rising. They speak with courage and creativity. They are filmmakers, musicians, and community leaders who believe that Haiti's future will not be written by outsiders, but by Haitians themselves. They are reclaiming the narrative, showing that Haiti is not a place of pity, but of power. When we talk about Haiti, we must remember that it represents the first nation that dared to say no to slavery, to empire, to oppression. That spirit is still alive. It beats in every drum, every protest, every prayer. And maybe that's the real price of freedom, to keep fighting for it, generation after generation. Haiti's story is not over. It's still being written by hands that have already proven they can turn pain into power. Haiti, price of freedom, a story of struggle, a story of courage, a story of hope.